The Atlanta Braves called up Alex Verdugo yesterday. Can he fix their offensive problems? No, but I think he can help. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Friday, April 18th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. Over on the Substack, we talked about one of the main differences from last season to this season on the Braves offense. A little bit more in depth on the Substack, but we'll get to that in the second segment here. I also want to talk about Bryce Elder's start tonight. There's reason for optimism, and there's reasons to be concerned. So we'll break down really that whole Twins series, but focus on Bryce Elder in the third segment. But first, I want to get to the news that the Atlanta Braves have called up Alex Verdugo to join the Major League roster. He takes the roster spot of Bryan De La Cruz, who was optioned down to Gwinnett. It was a little bit surprising when this happened, completely honestly. I expected Jarred Kelenic to get sent down simply because Verdugo and Kelenic are both lefty hitting outfielders. And so keeping both of those guys up where you might possibly play them in the same outfield means that, one, you would have an outfield consisting of nothing but left-handed hitters. Because Michael Harris is also a lefty. And I'm sure that's happened plenty. I just can't think about the last time we saw a Braves outfield of three lefty hitters. But also, when you look at it is defensible, though, to keep Jarred Kelenic over Bryan De La Cruz when you look at what each player brings to the table. Neither one of those guys, from an offensive perspective, have been good this year. Okay? Jarred Kelenic's batting 146. It's a 483 OPS. Bryan De La Cruz is batting 191, but a 453 OPS. Kelenic's on base is 239. De La Cruz's is 240. Kelenic's slugging is 244. De La Cruz is 213. Neither one of them are hitting that well. They've combined for 1 home run. They've combined for 3 extra base hits in 96 plate appearances. And when I ran the numbers, I think prior to the series finale against Toronto, neither one of them had a hit on the year with runners in scoring position. So neither one of them's really doing much of anything for you at the plate. They're just not. Kelenic's walked a little bit, but again, it is a total of 5 walks. It's not like he has a Marcell Ozuna 16, which leads baseball, by the way. Bringing in Alex Verdugo, I think, can give you some more, Alex Verdugo over Bryan De La Cruz gives you more defensive versatility. And Verdugo is a different type of player than both Kelenic and De La Cruz. Because those guys are very much in the mold of those power hitting types, right? They hit the ball hard. We've seen De La Cruz has absolutely crushed some baseballs this year. And in his defense, I do feel the need to point this out. In his defense, he has been pretty unlucky with some of his hard hit balls going right to defenders. And you can see that when you look at the expected statistics. I know we don't play the games based off of expected statistics, but they at least can show you a little bit of insight into whether the process that you are using is sound or not. And Bryan De La Cruz, when you dig into the hood, is the model of an Atlanta Braves type. I hit the ball very hard, but I'm also going to strike out a lot kind of guy. Okay. His average exit velocity, 73rd percentile, 91.5. His hard hit rate, 51.7%. It is 82nd percentile in baseball. He's also getting the ball in the air a lot, in the optimal range to hit a home run. His launch angle sweet spot percentage of 44.8% is 91st percentile in baseball. And somebody asked about this on social media the other day. The sweet spot percentage, launch angle sweet spot percentage, talks about when you how often you hit a batted ball in the optimal home run launch angle distribution of 8 to 32 degrees. You rarely see home runs below 8 degrees. You rarely see home runs above 32. So hitting balls in that launch angle distribution there is the proper bat path and launch angle to get you home runs. When you hit the ball hard, that's the exit velocity that you need to get you home runs. When you combine hitting a ball hard in that launch angle, that's where you get barrel rate from. And barrel rate's not static. It's not any ball over 95 miles an hour from 8 to 32 degrees. It's like a running scale, but the idea is it gives you, when you hit the ball hard in the air at the proper exit velocity for that launch angle, you can get a barrel. And barrels are disproportionately resulting in home runs. So Bryan De La Cruz is very much the mold of a Braves hitter from a inputs perspective. The flip side of that is he's very much the model of a Braves hitter from a swing and miss and strikeout perspective. Okay, 34% whiff rate, 11th percentile in baseball. 36% strikeout rate, 5th percentile in baseball. He was one of the worst strikeout merchants in Atlanta's lineup up until this demotion. And Alex Verdugo is not that type of player, okay? Alex Verdugo's hard hit rates are bottom quartile, so bottom 25% in baseball. His launch angle sweet spot rates, bottom 25% in baseball. His bat speed is pretty low, right? His barrel rates, 25th percentile, so bottom quartile. But what he is doing is he's making as close to optimal contact as he can. There's this idea, and StatCast tells you this, called squared up rate. And it's for that particular pitch, that location, that pitch type, that velocity. And your bat speed, did you get at least 80% of the max available exit velocity to you on that pitch? Meaning, did you make quality contact, or did you just barely get it and flare it into the outfield or something, or roll over it and grounder to third, whatever? Alex Verdugo last year, despite his stats, and we're going to get to that, had a 96th percentile mark of 33.4% for a squared up rate. He's making as close to optimal contact as he can. Now, granted, his bat speed's not great, so his exit velocities aren't great, but he's making the best quality contact that he can as often as reasonably expected. So that's one difference that he gives you. He also is a much better defender than Bryan De La Cruz. Bryan De La Cruz is a weird profile because he's decently speedy, 72nd percentile sprint speed. But despite that, he has below average range and his arm is just blah, right? The arm, he has given exactly 0 runs added or subtracted on arm value on defense so far this year. And it's a small sample size, mind you. But the point is, he's not done much for you defensively from a positive standpoint. I think he grades out at 0 run value right now. But you've watched these games. He's not helping you in the outfield. So Verdugo gives you some defense there. There is another aspect of Alex Verdugo's game, though, that I think can help a major weakness of this Braves roster that's come up this year. And we can break that down next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery. These are the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. I have to clean my office almost every day because I've got sunflower seed dust and little pieces everywhere because I'm eating these things all the time. 8 fantastic flavors: original, lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, smokehouse barbecue, hatch chili, cinnamon toast, Parmesan and pepper, dill pickle. My wife had the dill pickle just yesterday. She's like, it's not as strong or as grating as I thought it would be. She's like, it's like a great little blend of pickle flavor without being just overwhelmingly vinegary. So fantastic stuff. ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off your order. You can order a sampler pack, try all 8 flavors. You can buy a variety pack and it's just a case of some of everything. Or you can build your own with just the flavors you like. Again, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES for 10% off and free shipping on orders over $40. Again, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby breaking down this Atlanta Braves offense. And something that I noticed, and again, we wrote this in more depth on the Substack this morning in the newsletter, but the Atlanta Braves have improved in one specific area, but they've gotten worse in a corresponding area. Here's the thing. When you look year over year, 24 to 25, Atlanta's offensive statistics are shockingly close to each other. The strikeout rate's up a little bit, 2.5%. The walk rate is also up like 1.8%. Batting average, that's probably the biggest discrepancy for me. It's down 21 points. Expected batting average, though, is only down 7 points. On base, down 7 points. Expected on base, up 5 points. Expected slugging, up 1 point. Like so many of these things. Whiff rates, down 1%. Hard hit rate, up 0.4%. Barrels per plate appearance, up 0.3%. So many of these things are so close to what they were doing last year. But how they're doing it is significantly different. Okay? You may remember the concept of the attack zones, right? We talked about this, and this was where in the zone you were getting pitched. Okay? The heart of the zone is more than a ball width inside from the border of the strike zone. In that area, Atlanta struggled last year. Atlanta had exactly 3 players that had a positive run value on pitches in the heart of the zone. Michael Harris was at +2. Austin Riley was at +5. Marcell Ozuna was at +24 because that entire year was dumb. He was just so awesome last year, okay? This year, like 4 or 5 different players are already positive in the heart of the zone. Ozzy Albies went from negative to +6. Sean Murphy's at +5. Austin Riley's at +3. Marcell Ozuna's at +2. And even the guys who are not good, with the exception of Michael Harris, are all just barely, like 0 or -1. Matt Olson, Drake Baldwin. And almost everybody is making more contact in the strike zone despite swinging less. It's that Tim Hires approach of pulling the trigger on your pitch. Ozzy Albies is hitting in the zone 5% more than he was. Michael Harris has a team best 93% contact rate in the zone. Sean Murphy added 5%. Marcell Ozuna added 4%. But as a team, the Braves are hitting 30 points better on a batting average and technically an on-base perspective in the heart of the plate, and 40 points of slugging better. The flip side of this is in the shadow of the zone, which you'll remember is a ball width on either side of the edge of the strike zone, right? So these are 50-50 pitches, right? These are within a ball width of the edge of the zone. It can be called a ball or a strike, and there's not going to be a ton of argument either way. The Braves are much worse there. 60 points down in batting average, 30 points down in on base, 90 points down in slug. And here's the thing. Opposing teams haven't really noticed yet. The Atlanta Braves last season got 42% of their pitches were strikes, 9th lowest in all of baseball. This season, 42.3%, right there where it was last year. Teams, for the most part, are not throwing the Braves more pitches in the shadow and less pitches in the zone, like in the heart of the plate, despite the Braves being worse at hitting pitches in the shadow. And the theory that I have here is a lot of this, yes, some of this is the altered approaches. Some of this comes down to roster construction, right? We've built this lineup of sluggers. And hitting home runs, hitting the ball hard, and trying to get home runs is still proven on the whole over the course of an entire season, is still proven to be the best way at scoring runs. Let's not get that wrong. I talked about this yesterday. Your top 4 teams in home run hitting in the last couple seasons are also your top 4 teams in runs scored and in win percentage. Let's not get this wrong. Hitting home runs is still the most important part of baseball from an offensive perspective. But, one, situationally, you have to be better, right? Runners in scoring position, they're dreadful, right? Moving runners over, small ball stuff, they're dreadful, right? But also, the way this lineup is constructed, almost everybody in the lineup is a guy who's trying to slug. So what opposing teams have figured out they can do is if you can find that one weird trick that works on a guy, it's probably going to work on all of them. And if you think about the way that the season has gone and some of these offensive performances have gone, you've seen situations where Atlanta blasted a starter, Michael King, Dylan Cease, and then got shut down by a bullpen. You've seen situations where Atlanta got shut down by a starter, got into the bullpen, and then one of the relievers couldn't execute the game plan. And all of a sudden, Atlanta popped off for some runs. You've seen scenarios like the Toronto game where both the starter and the bullpen executed the plan almost perfectly. And Atlanta just got mowed down and destroyed. There's not enough variety in the lineup. And the issue you have right now is you can't really add a bunch of guys to this lineup. There's not a lot of options you can do to try to get some variety in there. Some of these guys are locked up for years. Matt Olson's here for a while. Austin Riley's here for a while. Michael Harris is here for a while. Ozzie Albies has a couple more years. Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be here for a while. Sean Murphy, going to be here for a while. But what you can do, I think, is one, you can take some of the outlier guys who do not fit that profile, your Eli White, your Nick Allen, and stop putting them back-to-back at the bottom of the lineup or not having them in the lineup at all. Because you'll notice, look, take that game in Toronto on Wednesday. Atlanta had 5 hits. 3 of them were at the bottom of the order. Start distributing those guys, spread them out a little bit. Let Eli White lead off. What do you have to lose at this point? Put Nick Allen at 6 or 5, whatever. What do you have to lose at this point? Make him a second leadoff man after the heart of the order. Alex Verdugo, I think, can help with this. Even in his rough season last year where he hit .233, and for the record, his expected batting average was .250. So a little bit of bad luck there. But even in that rough year last year, he chased a below average amount, and his whiff rate of 15.5% was one of the best in baseball, 93rd percentile. His strikeout rate of 15% was one of the best in baseball, 88th percentile. He's another guy outside of type, outside of the current archetype of the Braves lineup. So having him in there means you should be able to get a little more contact, get a little less swing and miss, put a little more balls in play. Because the issue this Braves lineup has been chasing out of the zone. Michael Harris has been dreadful at that. And again, he can't lead off going forward. But having too many guys that are 3 true outcomes, that are home runs, strikeouts, or in some cases, walks. You can start 3 players in your lineup that are outside of that type in Nick Allen, and Eli White, and Alex Verdugo. Spread them out. Don't have them 7, 8, 9. Have them spread out. Put one of them at leadoff. Put one of them at 5. Put one of them at 7 or 8 or whatever. Spread them out a little bit so that the opposing pitchers have to adjust. Because right now, the game plan, especially when like Orlando Arce is at shortstop and Brian De La Cruz and Jared Kelenic were at the corners, the game plan's the exact same game plan all the way through the lineup. Do something different. Give us a wild lineup today. I don't want to see... It's not a lefty pitcher. I don't want to see Ozzie Albies leading off. I want to see Eli White, or heck, I want to see Nick Allen or Alex Verdugo. I don't care. Let Verdugo do it. Give us somebody different up there. Because you need more variety in the lineup than what you have right now. In just a minute, let's get to this weekend's pitching matchups, and specifically, what can we expect out of Bryce Elder? We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby breaking down the weekend that's going to be. Your 3 games this weekend. You have to feel good about the ability to win a series here. 7-12 Twins, 5-13 Braves. 2 teams that are, to put it politely, on the struggle bus right now. Twins are 4th in the Central, Braves are 5th in the East. Tonight, Chris Paddock versus Bryce Elder. Heads up, it's an Apple TV game, so a little bit harder to tune into. But if you have viewing access, you can listen to the Atlanta Braves radio network and Ben Ingram sync to your television versus needing to listen to Apple TV's broadcasters. So heads up on that. Saturday, Simeon Woods Richardson versus Chris Sale. We need Chris Sale to be Chris Sale again. And then Sunday, the afternoons, 1:35, Joe Ryan versus Grant Holmes. For Bryce Elder, I think the big key to this game is going to be his slider. In his good season of 2023, his most common location of that slider was down and away on the corner. It was sometimes in the strike zone, sometimes not. He could get a called strike for it. He could get a swing and miss on it if they did put it in play, because it was usually moving down. It was a ground ball. In 2025, and heck, even in 2024, most common location for it was in the strike zone. Solidly in the strike zone. 2025, not only strike zone, belt high. So I talked about this a little bit a while back. He's added some velocity. And hey, yeah, he needed to. That's fine. He was averaging like 89.5 on his sinker in 2023. He averaged 90.2 last year. He's averaging 91.2 on the sinker this year. 91.4 on the four-seamer. But ever since he did that, the slider is higher in the zone than I think he meant for it to be. And even the sinker sometimes gets hung. And usually Bryce Elder's mistakes are going to come from hanging a slider or a sinker. I don't know if this is he needs to be aiming lower than he actually is. But there is, if you're going to do this dumb thing where you just decide you're going to ride with Bryce Elder instead of riding with AJ Smith-Shawver, which is a dumb idea, for the record, just so I've said it. If you're going to ride with Bryce Elder, you got to keep the slider down. Because Bryce Elder can give you depth. He can give you 6 innings. Like, he can go deeper into games. But he absolutely has to, he has to keep the slider down. if he doesn't keep the slider down, he's not going to be successful. When you look at this Twins team, it's a lot of guys, not everybody, but it's a lot of guys who are very patient. They're waiting for you to make mistakes, and they don't have a ton of whiff. Some of them do. Byron Buxton is swinging and missing a ton. But a lot of these guys are taking the first pitch. They're waiting for a mistake. Their zone swing rates, I'm looking at the report here, 59%, 60%, 50%. They're waiting for you to make mistakes on a pitch in the zone, and then they're trying to crush it. So Bryce Elder needs to minimize those mistakes. And the mistakes are coming predominantly from the slider. He also needs to give you some depth here, right? You've got Grant Holmes and Chris Sale. And both of those guys, last start for Grant Holmes notwithstanding, have not been going super deep into games. The worst case scenario here is for all three of those guys to give you 4 or maybe 5 innings. You need more depth. Now, at the same time, don't make the mistake you made in your last outing and push Elder too far. If he's being efficient and he's not going to face the heart of the order a third time, maybe you can push him into another inning. But either way, you need Bryce Elder to pitch a clean game to give your offense a chance to make things happen against a struggling starter in Chris Paddack. Chris Paddack has a 9.49 ERA on the season. To give you a heads up as to what he likes to do, four-seam, changeup, slider, curveball is the profile. 50% four-seam usage, mid-93s, right? Changeup, 25%. Slider, 14%. Not a great slider to me. Like, he gets less drop and less horizontal movement, but it's a little bit unusual because it's functioning more like a cutter than a lot of other sliders. Velo comes at 85 miles an hour. It's the velocity of a slider, but it's the usage of a cutter, right? And then the curveball's one of those 12-6 kind of breakers. Doesn't have a lot of horizontal movement on it. So being mindful there. It is going to be a platoon thing. Lefties are going to see almost entirely four-seam changeup, right? Righties will get the full package. Righties will get slider, curveball, changeup, four-seamer. So I expect the Braves to probably try to stack up with some lefties, right? Verdugo and Chinook may both be in the lineup today. Who knows? But he is gettable. He has only given up 3 home runs on the year, but he's also pitched like 12 innings. It's a home run every 4 innings. So this is a winnable matchup for Atlanta. And then the rest of the weekend, Simeon Woods Richardson, very young player, still trying to make it work against Chris Sale. That's a winnable matchup. Joe Ryan versus Grant Holmes, that's the toughest one of the 3. But if you get the Grant Holmes that you got last time out, that's winnable too. Atlanta needs to go 2-1 in this series. And then Atlanta needs to go 2-1 versus the Cardinals as well. They are in trouble if they can't win these next 2 series. I'm not panicking yet. It's too early to panic. But I'm concerned. I'm absolutely concerned. They've got to do more than they've done. And it starts tonight. This has been Braves Today for Friday, April 18th. If you're listening on audio, do us a favor. Leave us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. And also, check out all the written work. BravesToday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.